Rabbi Jonathan, how big this is. This isn't some little principle. This affects everything. Explain.
Yeah, the Shemitah has so many facets. It's not only, now we just touched on how it's affecting the economy, Wall Street, everything, but it actually affects even physical realities. And the first thing, one of the mysteries in here is called the mystery of the towers. In the Bible, the word for tower is migdal. That comes from a Hebrew word gadal, which means greatness. So there's a link between towers being built and greatness, or a nation's greatness, or its pride, its glory. We're great.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? The Tower of Babel.
Exactly.
That's what they were trying to do. We're going to make a name for ourselves. We're going to build a tower up to heaven.
That's exactly it. Now, could there be? Now, there's a mystery here. Could it be that the rising of the highest towers in the world actually mark the rising of nations and powers? And we're going to see. This is linked to the Shemitah. It's amazing. For instance, up from the Middle Ages, the highest towers were in Europe. The center of power was in Europe. But a change took place in about 1870. There's the greatest tower rises up in a new land. It's America. 1870. The next year, America becomes the strongest economic power on earth. The mantle goes from Britain to America. So the rise of the tower actually marks it. From then on, America builds the highest towers on earth as its power keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. But we're going to see there's a link with the Shemitah. Because in 1945, at the end of the Second World War, height of American power, there's a plan to build a new tower that's going to represent America's greatness. It's the World Trade Center. 1945 is the year of the Shemitah. The tower is conceived, the World Trade Center, year of the Shemitah. They start building it in 1966, year of the Shemitah. It's built for a 7-year cycle, the exact cycle of the Shemitah, 7 years of the Shemitah. Finished in 1973, year of the Shemitah. And then, finally, 2001, it's destroyed in the year of the Shemitah. Now, here's a link. Now, what's the towers? Towers are about rising. The Shemitah is about falling. It actually means let fall. The tower is about the glory of man. The Shemitah is about humbling the pride of man or the pride of a nation. So here, we see in the Bible, the Shemitah wipes out accounts we saw that are built up. It also wipes out realities that are built up too. And so here, in the year of the Shemitah, actually, as the Shemitah gets to its peak, that's when 9/11 happens. 9/11 happens at the peak of the Shemitah, the last week, when it's getting ready for the day of nullifying, wiping things out. And actually, the collapse of the tower causes the collapse of Wall Street. You have the greatest, so you have the collapse of a tower, the pride of a nation, and you have the collapse of Wall Street at the same time on the day of the Shemitah, which means that even the timing of 9/11 had to be determined exactly by the ancient mystery of the Shemitah. And here's the prophetic things with this. This is just one of the things, that if the rise of a tower speaks of the rise of a nation, what does the fall of a tower speak of? It's a warning of the future of America.
So as you point out, a harbinger was 9/11.
Yeah.
It's a warning. How many warnings do we get before judgment? What's a pattern?
God is merciful. With the harbinger, yeah, exactly right. This follows the harbingers, that not only was that a harbinger, but then there's a tower going up right now at ground zero, which in the harbinger, it's the fourth harbinger. Well, that's linked to the Shemitah as well. There are things happening since the harbinger came out. It's been coming true, and that's linked to the Shemitah, that there are signs appearing. We can't get into it, but the signs have to do with that tower, about what is rising up at ground zero, which is linked to defiance. Because remember, this tower also, the tower that's rising now, was conceived in the year of the Shemitah at the same time, with that vow that about defiance that was made on Capitol Hill. And it's probably going to be completed, most likely, in the year of the Shemitah that's coming. So that's just a little bit of the Shemitah and the tower. But this also is about the rise and fall of nations. The Shemitah gives the key about when nations rise and fall. It has to do with America. Let me give you an example how this mystery is so big, it's affected everything. Shemitah, it actually could be taken as, I said, shaking or falling or collapsing. 1917, you have the year of the Shemitah. You have a collapse on Wall Street, but you also have a shaking of the nations called the First World War. The Shemitah is about collapsing. In that war, you have the collapse of powers, collapse of 4 empires: the German Empire, the Hungarian, the Russian, the Ottoman, all collapse in the year linked to the Shemitah. And you also have, the Shemitah is linked to the rise of nations. 1917 is the year that begins America's rise of world power on the stage. It enters the First World War. This is considered that. And so you have the beginning of this rise. But if you take it 4 Shemitas later, which is 28 years, interesting, 4 in the Bible is a number of kingdoms. It takes you to 1945, and you have another global cataclysm. You have the shaking of the world, shaking World War II coming. You have literally, actually, Hitler's attacks began in 1938. That was the year of the Shemitah. Goes 7 years till 1945 until it's over. Shemitah. The Holocaust began. Kristallnacht. It's noted as 1938 as the fateful year. Year of the Shemitah. Ends 1945. Year of the Shemitah. When you reach the peak of the Shemitah, you also get the peak of World War II, summer of 1945. You're approaching the Shemitah's day of nullifying things. Well, this is the day of wiping out. Unleashed on the world is the greatest power of wiping out ever. The atomic nuclear warfare comes on at the end of World War. It's like this crescendo. The war ends in the last week of the Shemitah, this whole 7-year period. And actually in Berlin, the Allies have a victory parade. It's on the day of the end of the Shemitah. I mean, so world history, this launches America as the superpower of the world, even the Cold War, in the year of the Shemitah. Now, if you go one more period, you go 4 Shemitahs later, 28 years, Shemitah can mean also the fall of a nation. It gets you to 1973. Key point. 1973, America decides to legalize the killing of unborn children. Same sin ancient Israel was judged for. And that same year also is the year America loses its first war. Vietnam collapses. On the same day, August 15th, that America won the war before in the other Shemitah. And so you have this thing of the fall now. And in the same year of that fall, you have the World Trade Center, which marks the same years that America legalized the killing of its children. Huh.
Okay, now with the amazing precision we've just seen in the past, what does that tell us about now and the future?